We're up on YouTube on Jordy Culotta Show over there on the Culotta Show page, and we're also on Facebook. Make sure and find us there as some of our hits that we're going to start doing here, getting you more content. Couple of news stories to watch here today that we're going to touch on. LSU basketball is losing a couple of more players here after yesterday's news that Andre Hyatt is out as he's put his name into the transfer portal. Some news coming out today on Hyatt is that Boston College has been the first team to contact Hyatt. A.J. Black, who covers the Eagles for SI.com, had it first that Boston College has been in touch with LSU's guard, the 6'7" guard, who really ended the season well. I found a quote of Will Wade following the St. Bonaventure's game, which was probably Andre Hyatt's best game of his career at LSU. He started to come on and become a routine starter in the lineup, but he would be the first one that subbed out. But towards the end of the season, you started to see his minutes become extended, and I think this is a great quote from Will Wade talking about Hyatt. I trust him. He's steady. You know where he's going to be, and this is why, as a coach, you stick with guys. We went away from him a little bit there in the middle of the year, but he's earned that starting spot. It's not like we just hand out starting spots like Halloween candy or something on Halloween. You can't just show up and you get one. He earned it. He had to earn it in the preseason and how hard he worked, and as a head coach, I trust that, and we trust that. He came up huge for us. He came up huge for us against Alabama. He came up huge for us in Bonaventure's game. That's why you stick with guys when talking about Andre Hyatt. And I think that Hyatt, on the heels of today's loss, is going to be one that you may look back on and say, that one hurt a little bit more than I thought it was going to when you first heard the news. Because while the minutes and the points and the production doesn't jump off, and I think you could look at a couple of highlights or lowlights for Hyatt at the end of the year where he had a couple of bunnies and putbacks, specifically in that game against Alabama in the SEC championship where that rebound just kind of fell in his hands and he was looking at one right in the rim, and he just had it rim out. He missed a couple of putbacks against Michigan, but all in all, he was a solid contributor to LSU here in 2020 and 2021, and really from a future standpoint gave you at least a little bit of a security, a bit of a secure feeling in what was going to be around next season, just because of moments like that on how the staff had trusted him. My bad. I didn't even know that we were in the shot here. I just opened up YouTube.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could introduce our boy.
My bad.
Cold opening.
I'm looking at this YouTube. I'm looking at this Instagram feed, and it's just me and MJ. But we got our guy Jack in studio here, one of the newest additions. Pull that microphone up, Jack. Don't be shy, buddy.
Yeah.
It's one of the newest additions here to the Jordy Culotta Show. Going to help us out with some social media. Going to put him on air. Going to start to develop his on-air chops. Tell everybody what's your name, where you're from, bro.
Yeah, so my name's Jack. Long name, Crucidlo. You know, if I had a penny for every single time someone said, how you say that?
Say it again.
Crucidlo, yeah. College would be paid for by now.
Crucidlo. I'm going to take a shot here. Crucidlo. K-R.
Yeah.
S?
No
C.
S. C. Yeah.
K-R-C-I-D.
Yeah.
And then low, L-O-W?
Yeah.
There you go.
You could have had a career at Ellis Island.
All right. Welcome to the team. Tell everybody what you anticipate doing. What's going on? Because over the last couple of days, you've been new here, but you've made a pretty big splash. We're just kind of looking for some content outside of the stuff that we've been producing, and you've been doing a great job with the Barstool account, and we were able to get in touch. Abby Alonso, who is a mutual friend of the show and for us, is put us in contact, and here we are.
Yeah, we've been killing it with our networking. Abby reached out to me. Last 2 years, I've been doing some work with Barstool. Been running Barstool LSU. Just been a character posting on that and just trying to use some of my social media skills to grow this and expand on my skills and just show the love for some Louisiana sports. And then here, talk some sports, have a good time in the afternoon.
Sweet. Welcome to the team, bro.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You will be hearing and seeing more of Jack here from the Jordy Culotta Show, as you see him here on one of our updates. Big recruiting news just popped.
I was about to say, I just got to hold that tiger.
For LSU football. You know who it is?
No, I just get the tweet
What's
from
to hold
Ed.
the tiger?
Max Johnson's younger brother, Jake Johnson, one of the top tight ends in the country, just committed to LSU. That's a big one. That is an enormous get for LSU. I don't think a lot of people anticipated losing and missing on Johnson just because of the experience that Max is having down here and now how close they are, but making it official going into his senior season, that is a hell of a pull for LSU, the offensive staff, Jake Peets, DJ Mangus, and the passing game coordinator, Mickey Joseph. He's the number 1 tight end in the country for the class of 2022. When you just talk about that's 2 out of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
LSU has dipped into the state of Georgia and taken the number 1 overall tight end in the entire class and the number 1 prospect out of that state. So that's a big pull
What's
for
the size on
LSU
him?
football recruiting. I'll get it to you
Because
officially
Max is a
here.
sneaky 6'5". I didn't even know that until I saw him in person. I'm 6'4". He towers over me.
Max is a big old dude.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
think
even
the
know.
brother's taller, huh?
Yeah.
The brother's big. They had some. We were talking to Brad Johnson, the dad, and they had some like highlights of well, not highlights, but like workout film of them like getting it in the backyard. So they've been working and playing.
225.
Yeah, monster.
In high school.
6'6", 225 as a junior, 3.9 GPA, was a 2019-2020 All-State selection, was the 2020 Region 8A State Offensive Player of the Year in Georgia. Say that out loud, bro. I mean, that's Louisiana-type high school football.
Yeah.
2020 Max Preps All-State selection, 2020 Score Atlanta All-State team. This is all as a sophomore now. And junior, his production, and here he is going into his senior season and makes it official today. So big splash for Ed Ogeron and the crew and the LSU football staff as they send out a Hold That Tiger tweet for Jake Johnson, the younger brother of Max Johnson. The rich get richer in the class of 2022. When you talk about Will Campbell, number 1 offensive tackle or one of the top offensive tackles in the country, number 1 in the state of Louisiana, Walker Howard, who is one of the top quarterbacks in this recruiting cycle, to have those guys in the boat and then put Jake Johnson into the boat. And then you got guys out there like Shaz Preston and the rest of the crew that are ready to jump in. The class of 2022 could be monumental when you look back on it. So big news there to lead off our rundown here is Jake Johnson, the latest commitment to LSU. We were talking about LSU basketball, and LSU basketball is in the news right now with the transfer portal. And we mentioned this morning that it seems like LSU's sitting in a good spot with Adam Miller, who's one of the top transfers, and put his name in the portal a couple of weeks ago on April 1st over at Illinois. Had a really stellar freshman season. Was really kind of playing third fiddle to DeSamu and to Cockburn up there at Illinois. And it seemed like his time was now. He was ready to kind of break out. He decided to go into the portal. It looks like LSU's sitting in a really good position for him. Earlier this week, they got Xavier Pinson, an experienced guard out of the Southeastern Conference who's coming over from Missouri. He made it official on his Instagram account that he's coming to LSU. So you're adding a couple of more to the roster, but today was about more attrition. And Cam Thomas made it official, which I don't think that surprises anybody, that Thomas went ahead and put his name into the NBA draft, and he's going to hire representation. He's going to hire an agent, which is going to officially end his eligibility
It's funny he was the last one.
in college basketball. Yeah,
He was the most certain one to go, and he was the last one to break the news.
and without a doubt, the highest prospect.
Yeah, the
highest,
definite lottery pick.
highest rated prospect. You think he's a definite lottery pick? The last
Taylor, another thing he could be a Taylor. I just
15 to 20 is kind of where I've
Defense,
seen him.
man.
Right outside of that, he can roll out of bed and get you 30, which in that league means a ton. It's a scoring league. A tweet came out from Todd Polites today. Anybody that may be curious about Cam's freshman season and just how special it was, check this out. Check the company that Cam Thomas leaves behind in his 1 year in Baton Rouge. He spent 1 year here in Baton Rouge, and he is one of 4 first-year varsity players to average 20 points per game. Obviously, you got to put that qualifier in there because Pistol Pete Maravich, didn't play varsity until he was a sophomore. The rules back then had freshmen in varsity games, and Pete would You know the stories. Everybody'd show up for the freshman games, and then the whole place would clear out for the varsity games because they were just coming to watch Pete. By the time he got to his sophomore season, he was averaging 43.8, which is still a record that I think is one of those most untouchable records in sports.
Yeah, but unbelievable.
That's some Will Chamberlain numbers.
I mean, that is.
I was going to say, obviously, everybody knows without the three-point line.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what do you do? How do you even do that?
I have no idea.
No sophomore slump for Pistol Pete.
No, I wouldn't say so. So Pete averaged 43.8, nearly 44 points a game in 1972 and 73. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who played at LSU as Chris Jackson, his freshman season, the best I've ever seen in person was in 88-89. He averaged 30, right at 30, at 30.2. Bob Pettit, who in 1951-52 averaged 25.5 per game, and then Cam Thomas, who averaged 23 his freshman season. So he is one of 4 first-year players at LSU basketball to average 20 or more points, joining the company of Pete Maravich, Bob Pettit, Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. That is as fine a company as you can sit in on LSU's campus, not just the basketball program. That's as good as an alumni base as LSU can put out there from a university standpoint. And Cam Thomas is one of 4 after what he accomplished here in his freshman season. I don't know if we'll ever appreciate truly the greatness of Cam and what we saw here in year 1, because at times it was a little head-scratching in his shot selection, and sometimes it was maddening to see to get him to that 25-27 mark that he was averaging. But towards the end of the season, towards the second half of the season, his efficiency rate shot up, and he was, I thought, the most dynamic scorer in college basketball, if not in the discussion of as special of a scorer that the game had. I mean, he felt like that opening quarter against Michigan.
Yeah, first 5 shots. If you could show just highlights of Cam Thomas, ditch everything, just show him the first 10 shots of Michigan. Jab step in your face, just Kobe
going
pass.
left.
Oh my God!
I mean, didn't hit the rim.
When he waves off the screen, they set a high pick for me. He's like, I don't need that. Goes left, step off, step back, in your face, slap a timeout, and like we were watching the game, like we're rolling here.
Yeah,
and
man.
When Cam Thomas gets hot, it's impossible to stop.
Well, you know what game that reminds you of that type of game is NBA. His game looks NBA. I mean, even Ben Simmons' game when he was here, when he was the bona fide #1 pick, it wasn't even up for discussion. It was Simmons and everybody else. His game had to prosper into the next level. I mean, he was a lot of bully ball, where he would just kind of back up. I mean, he was kind of Zion before Zion in the league, where they just kind of put this big 6'9" guy at point guard and said, hey, man, just get to the rim. That's what you do best. You can't shoot. Just get to the rim or get to the free throw line. And he was doing that in college. And now his game has evolved. And, I mean, by the way, Ben Simmons defensively is maybe the defensive player of the year.
Well,
and Zion couldn't do anything with him the other night.
Russillo said that himself. He was like, I have Ben Simmons as defensive player of the year. And then Zion pushed him around a little bit, so it shows you where Zion's game's going.
And he said it was out of him and Gobert, and I've seen him do it to Gobert as well.
And Gobert wants nothing to do with Zion.
He wants nothing. I mean, that French attitude, the French personality. He's like, bro, I'm out.
Yeah.
This is way too American. This is way too much bully for me. But Cam's game, I think, already translates to the league. So maybe he might be a lottery pick, because it only takes one team to fall in love with somebody, and his game is so NBA ready, in my opinion. Just
the catch and shoot,
the catch and shoot, run him off screens. You can play pick and pop with him. Now, he is a liability on defense, but I mean, I think you can say that for a lot of people in that league, and it takes a while to truly embrace playing NBA defense just because of the athleticism.
It comes to the old basketball mindset. Defense is a mindset. I'm not going to let this guy get past me. And when you're that athletic to rip through, jab, get lower than somebody, why can't you do it defensively?
Watch the national championship game and tell me that defense is not all effort and energy when you watch Baylor play. I mean, they just were hustling more. So Andre Hyatt out, Cam Thomas out, and then the news today that Jalen Cook, the Walker native, is out. Now, this is another one as far as the numbers go. He probably looked at Xavier Pinson and saw that it's going to just be a replay of what last season was, where he kind of got shuffled down the lineup behind Smart, Gaines, and guys that they had options there. Now you bring in another player, and it kind of puts back the depth in the way that it sits last season, and Cook is a guy that, obviously wants to play. I think that this is a big hit defensively for LSU basketball. Another quote that I found, I gave you the quote on Wade last season and what he said about Andre Hyatt, just kind of about the trust factor that he had. This was Will Wade last year on signing day on a radio show that I hosted at the time, speaking with me and my co-host T-Bob Hebert, when I asked him after the letter of intent came in on Jalen Cook what they were getting. And Wade told me on the air last season, Jalen might be the best on-ball defender I've ever seen since I was at VCU and we had Briante Weber, who was the second all-time in NCAA steals. Cook is as good as I've seen at hounding the ball and at guarding the ball. That's just a little tidbit on what Wade said on Cook last year. Now, if I'm Cook, I'm giving a real thought of possibly playing football. Because if you look up Cook's highlights, he is SEC offered football player. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I believe that LSU got into the mix late in the recruiting process. I do know that Wade had to habitually fish Ogeron out of the locker room and in Cook's ear telling him if basketball doesn't work out that he's got a spot on the football team. Now,
always sniffing around.
Yeah.
5'10" does not translate to the NBA.
No.
Right? I mean, 5'10" does not
Well,
translate.
basketball shoots 5'10" in basketball. They're giving him that.
It does not translate to the league. 5'10" to the NFL doesn't translate well, especially positions that he tests at. Cornerback, nickel. You could put him in the slot where he could play at 5'10". And he is dangerous with the football in his hands. I mean, Brian Thomas and Jalen Cook at wide receiver 3 years ago at Walker was one of the toughest matchups in the state. I mean, you could not double Thomas, right? Because if you doubled Thomas with two high school kids, you were just leaving Jalen Cook running one-on-one with some scrub.
Yeah.
And he's dicing you up. And then if you one-on-one with Thomas, you just throw up jump balls and he beats you all night. So, I mean, it was a pick-your-poison type method with Cook. Now, if he loves the game, he loves he was the state's best basketball player last year, according to the voters. That was a year that featured Reese Beekman, who's up at Virginia and started as a freshman at Virginia with Tony Bennett. So, I'm not, by no means am I telling the kid to give up on basketball. I'm just saying that I know that football is an option for him and that he could play in an SEC school. He could possibly play at LSU. I mean, and I know for a fact that O and the crew would take him. At this point, I don't know how the scholarship stuff works when you're on basketball scholarship and you want to play football. A lot like Nick Storrs. Storrs was a baseball guy. He said, you know what? I want to focus on football completely.
He's a tight end, right, for baseball?
He's a pitcher. Yeah. Huge pitcher.
Yeah, big boy.
Yeah, big tight end.
He lowered down on special teams a little bit.
Yeah. He'll play a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens with Gilbert, what goes on, Cole Taylor in that position. I mean, I expect LSU at times to have two tight ends on the field. So those are hits, man. I expect Will Wade to replenish the roster. I know that he's going to do that. I didn't anticipate losing Cook. I think that on Monday, when we had him on earlier this week, he talked about being prepared to lose somebody in the portal. And I think it'll happen again just because the nature of this thing. I mean, it's so fresh and everybody's just trying to jump. I mean, they got 1,400 kids in there, man. They got 1,400 players in there. But LSU added two to the population in Andre Hyatt and Jalen Cook. So, you know what? I mean, I think that they're both hits. I think they're both guys that you look back on in the season and you say, damn, I wish we had Andre Hyatt. Or, right now a point guard is just getting into the paint and killing LSU. You would want somebody up top to try to cut that thing off. And Cook's got the athleticism and the movement and, the skill to keep people in front of him. You saw that even this year where, Wade would just say, hey, man, just go stop the ball. Just because he's such a good athlete. So it'll be interesting to see. Andre Hyatt, Boston College, first to make contact. Remember, Hyatt is a New York native. So he comes out of that part of the country. So it may make some sense to come, to go back there and play the rest of his college. He's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. So he's got a couple of years of eligibility left.
A new theme of college basketball. It's almost like the NBA where you can just build a team through that transfer portal. Baylor did that.
Yeah.
And that's something that Will Wade, I think, is going to have to battle. Like, how much emphasis do you put on recruiting high school kids, and how often do you go to the portal because as you see, some of these recruits
Especially
that
after
these are guys that he recruited. He's losing some guys that he brought in to fill specific roles, and now he's having to fill them through the transfer portal. So it's something you're gonna have to manage, differently. It's just something that you'll learn as you go because it's all new to everybody.
Yeah, managing the depth chart, how long they're going to stay, and the grad transfers you're going to get.
I mean,
Plus, think to a cap or a salary cap.
It is. I mean, it's all free agent. I mean, free agency. It'll be compared to free agency in football, and it'll be compared to that in basketball. I mean, that's the mentality of it.
Because the NCAA is getting easier on the transfer restrictions. It used to be you have to sit out a year, but now I think they're getting rid of that. Where
it's official.
You're ready to go.
It became official yesterday. You've got one get out of jail free card. I mean, you got one time where you can leave, go anywhere, and be eligible. So
it'll be a new road of college basketball.
Doing
that.
It absolutely is. I mean, I think Baylor was hoping that they could kind of keep it the game's little secret.
Yeah.
The last couple of years of diving into the portal and kind of building the nucleus of your team, but now with the rules and regulations, it's being forced.
Success leaves trails
onto teams. Absolutely. And I mean, anybody that was paying attention to that performance.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, good Lord. I mean, if you're a basketball coach, I want to look like that.
Well, yeah, it's the AAU culture, huh? Like it all stems from high school where they all just team up and play with each other, and it's kind of
team.
Yeah, it's all permeated from high school that it went to the NBA, and now it's in college.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with what happens on the basketball roster as far as filling those spots up. I anticipate that it'll happen. I think that this will definitely be something that Wade and his crew were able to get back and replenish. But I think that Cook and Hyatt are both hits for LSU. A-Rod and J-Lo officially done. We all figured this when this stuff started. I mean, not that we're big. We'll get more from this when Katie's in studio with us tomorrow. But I mean, this is A-Rod just going A-Rod here. I never thought that A-Rod was going to get married, for the record.
You see that ring he got her, though?
I
guess it's nothing for him, but good
the Yankees
Lord.
are still paying him.
Yeah, they just write that thing off. But yeah, A-Rod's he's not one to, he's not going to tie that man down.
You're not married. He's not getting married.
And it would definitely be a second relationship for him because he's already in love with himself.
Yes, 100%, man. And for a person like A-Rod, it's probably better that you just stay out of the limelight, man. You don't want any of this news. And I never thought that you'd get married. It was what was it, a couple of weeks ago where they were talking about saving it for the kids?
Yeah,
that's disastrous, bro. That is disastrous.
I do have the video he posted on Instagram. It is
A-Rod-ish?
A-Rod is in his feels, my brother.
Really, just talking about the breakup and everything.
Oh, it'll come up on the screen here in a second. So I'm watching it now.
So wait, the audio?
No audio because
No
that might
audio.
get us pegged.
Yeah.
Which A-Rod might like.
See that little podcast they got down in South Louisiana? I think I was the lead story today, even though they had two players leave
He
LSU.
definitely has Google Alerts set up on his
Yeah,
phone.
for sure.
I'm trending somewhere.
Absolutely. I think we're going to get the Timberwolves.
Then he loses his wife. He's
Yeah.
going to go all in.
He was trying to buy the Mets with her, pretty much with her.
Well, I mean, the first one was he was trying to buy the Marlins once he first got retired. Look at A-Rod.
Oh, he's down bad. He's in the Earth score.
No. Oh, no.
all that money in framing.
A-Rod.
Yeah, the Coles framing.
But I mean, the
He
first
tagged her with a little heart.
J-Lo.
the first story. Oh wow. The first story goes that he tried to buy the Marlins, and then Derek Jeter,
His boy swoops in the old
Derek
rivalry.
Jeter kind of came in and took it right from underneath him, and then he wanted to buy the Mets. One of the biggest billionaires in the world came in and bought the Mets. It was at Supon, and then in Minnesota. We'll see. I mean, this guy has got I think he's got to wait 2 years for this to become official. And one of his friends that he brought in is kind of is the money behind it. I mean, A-Rod's just he's more the face. Yeah, he's more the face of it.
Only thing, if you buy the Timberwolves, you have to change it to those old school when KG played.
With the
Not this
pinstripes?
not the neon. What
I think the big play is here, and I know that the current owner of the Timberwolves has it like written in the contract that he wants the team to stay in Minnesota. But I mean, if you want the team to stay in Minnesota, bro, keep owning the team. Because once I buy it, if I'm the new owner,
I can go
later,
wherever I
bro, I'm gonna
want.
take this thing to Seattle,
Yep.
just like I've been meaning to do. Because A-Rod could go back to Seattle. I mean, I think A-Rod, he's got that hero syndrome.
Yeah,
he wants to
LeBron.
so bad to be a hero. He wants so bad to say, for people in the community to say, we could have done it without A-Rod. Our team couldn't have won without A-Rod. I mean, nobody said that during his baseball career. So I think that he wants that through his philanthropy for somebody to say, A-Rod saved us. And if he brings Seattle a basketball team, he will be a hero.
God's grace, yes.
He will be a hero in Seattle, in a team in a town that, you know, he had some ownership stake in. At one point, I mean, he was a figurehead of the Mariners. Now, he never got as big as King Griffey Jr. He never got as big as some of those, Randy Johnson and some of those guys that were playing up there. But he was, that's where he started his career. I mean, that's probably where he was most likable in his career.
At the time when he was in Seattle, he was better than Jeter.
And for somebody like A-Rod that was always so good, he was always so worried about being likable.
Sure.
Like everywhere he went, he had to be, and it wasn't like it's certainly an ego thing, but it wasn't like a pompous thing. He was like actually trying to.
No, he was concerned.
He was trying to ingratiate himself.
He's Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he just has to be liked.
He was Kevin Durant before KD, where it was like,
wow,
bro,
yeah, what a point.
Why do you care? Why do you care if all these people like you, man? I mean, just by stepping out into a public forum, there's 50% are going to hate you just by the way you look. 50% are just going to hate you by the way you... I mean, I understand, and this is on a much smaller scale. By no means am I comparing anything on that level to this level. But there is an understanding in this space when you open yourself up to the public, there's going to be a section of people that hate you just by the way you sound. I mean, I've had people tell me that. I can't listen to you because I hate the sound of your voice. Huh? What do you want me to say? Yeah. I can't change it for you tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I can't worry about changing it for you tomorrow because I can't do it. And to see those guys at that level, KD, A-Rod, care about people liking
Kyrie.
them. I mean, like,
Diva.
I want people to like me at a baseline level, but if you don't, I can't sweat it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for those guys at that level, to fight back and forth on DMs with people individually about something they said. I mean, I saw A-Rod was going. I mean, I saw where Kevin Durant was going after
Rappaport.
No, I know the Rappaport stuff, but then he was going after.
Shannon Sharp.
He was going after Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, trying to find
for
him.
something he said on Shannon Sharp. Like, are you, bro?
Over a fake tweet.
The bunny ears.
Oh yeah.
The rabbit ears.
But he doesn't, the only thing good about KD in this side is he just doesn't run from it anymore.
No, he doesn't. He's owned it.
He's fully. He went from burner.
But he still is in Philadelphia, like the other night, where he's not dressed out, and fans are just mother effing him. You know, just flipping him off, letting him have it, and he's still kind of like, what? Why? It's bro. What do you mean?
I don't know, 73-9 team joining. I don't know, maybe.
Are you serious? I mean, are you still questioning why they hate you? I mean, they've told you, they've tweeted at you, you've seen it, you've heard it. I just think it's maddening. And A-Rod suffers from that same disease. It seems like from just the public wanting to be liked. And while I think we can all relate to that on a fundamental level, nobody wants to be hated, right? I mean, you don't want to be just this heel. But I mean, at what point do you stop caring if you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay. I mean, there's only so much that I can provide you, and if you don't like it, I mean, shit, man, you got options. Don't come here.
And another crazy thing about him having to go to Seattle or like and put together this ownership group, it just shows you how much money like other people have that aren't athletes. Like,
A-Rod's one of the highest paid players ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, I think Shaq says it in his book, The Greatest, is when another athlete at the time that was a veteran, after he signed his Los Angeles Lakers contract coming from the Orlando Magic contract where he was the #1 pick in the draft, he had signed with Reebok, he had signed with Pepsi, he had signed with all these, he probably had $50 million in the bank. And he signed a $100 million contract in 1998, 6, maybe with the Los Angeles Lakers, late 90s. And a veteran player in the league came up to him and said, "You feel rich?" And Shaq's like, "Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I feel rich." Yeah, he said, "You think you're rich?" He said, "What about the guy that cut you that check? He's wealthy.
Yeah.
You're rich. You want to be wealthy." And I think Shaq has probably become wealthy. You know what I mean?
Probably took that lesson to heart.
He absolutely
like,
did. But in his book, he was like, you think you're rich as an athlete, and you are. You have a ton of money, and they make a lot of money. But those guys, when you think about it, really just have a great opportunity to soak the
owner.
Soak the foundation of their financial stability with good investments, good people around them. Like, I mean, money attracts money. You got money in your pocket, you're going to hang out with people that have money. And I think, for people that have money, A-Rod's probably just nothing but an ornament that they hang out in front and say, hey, A-Rod, just go be that guy that gets us the attention so we can get in the door and get the Minnesota Timberwolves. And A-Rod's, I'll do it.
What a perfect guy to pick. Like, you like me?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
You really like me.
And then, you know what, A-Rod? We've got a business idea that will probably take this team to Seattle, and you'll be the face of all of it. Holy shit, I'm in, man. I'm in. The whole town of Seattle will love me. I think that's kind of how A-Rod is these days, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So they split because A-Rod cheated on her, right?
That was kind of the
rumors.
The sex,
yeah.
The sexting, and then we heard about the potential that he has a briefcase full of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, in case you get a little. He wants to get a little frisky. Yeah, there's nobody telling it. There's no skeletons in those closets that can talk.
Yeah.
Just talk about greed, man. You get one of the biggest contracts in sports history. You're dating J-Lo. She just like fine wine, dude. Like, come on, you're winning.
He was finally getting to that likable point too. People
Kinda
loved
was.
him with
I
J-Lo.
thought his most likable, the most likable he's been post career has been calling Major League Baseball.
He's good
playoffs.
at it.
Has been commentating Major League Baseball. He just kind of unzips it. He just kind of doesn't put on that facade. He just kind of. And he also showed you how smart of a baseball player he is. I mean, just by the way that he talks the game. I mean, you're kind of like, oh shit,
like a Tony Romo
wow,
almost.
Okay, man, he's pretty impressive to just hear simply break down the game. So we'll get more from Katie tomorrow when she's in studio with A-Rod and J-Lo.
Oh, they're coming in.
And we'll have them in studio here tomorrow
Excellent.
with Lily.
Yeah.
He's already called.
Hey, Rod, hey, pause on. Actually, come on, dude.
That's right. Sign this NDA.
Yeah.
And then the story of the day, at least nationally, that everybody's talking about, I love this, is that Michael Jordan is going to present Kobe Bryant at the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame induction. Jordan actually going to induct or present Kim Mulkey as well. So he'll be a double presenter here on what is a star-studded night for basketball. I mean, some of the this is
the big fundamental.
This is royalty. I mean, it is basketball royalty when you look at this class. Tamika Catchings, which is one of the best women's basketball player of all time. Louisiana Tech, played at Louisiana Tech, went on to be one of the great WNBA players.
KG's in there.
Tim Duncan,
The big ticket.
Kevin Garnett, Eddie Sutton, a great coach, Rudy Tomjanovich, who played and coached in the NBA. Kobe Bryant and Kim Mulkey are in this class. Barbara Stevens is another one. But Kobe is going to be presented by MJ.
His hero.
And his hero, absolutely his hero. And you've seen a glimpse of this, right? Like we've seen this when the memorial service was paid to Kobe inside of the Staples Center, and there were so many speakers that day, but nobody owned that arena and owned that moment like Michael Jordan did. And it's one of the only times publicly outside of MJ's own Hall of Fame speech where
Jordan meme.
He has looked human, where he has looked truly relatable in his emotions, his feelings, and just allowing us to see that. And he even said in the moment, like, fucking Kobe's going to get me another crying meme.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's the only one that could make me break down again like this after being so embarrassed the first time. And you know that what that was probably like for Jordan when those crying memes
came out for
like God. The alpha Jordan, like the guy
punching air.
I mean,
dude.
just how the hell did this happen? I mean,
who do I have to call to get this off the internet?
Exactly. And for it to happen again, huh?
In that speech, he says he starts it off when Kobe Bryant died. Piece of me died.
Yes. Yeah, and
that's a starting.
That is the quote that will live on forever. And I mean, I think that the basketball world will have to embrace that. Will have to brace themselves for this moment, because if you are a Kobe fan, if you are an MJ fan, if you love that generation of basketball, which is about a 40-year stretch of basketball cumulatively, when you think about it, just the amount of impact that those two guys have had on the game in succession, right? Like just a little bit of carryover and overlapping, and now those guys are presenting, or MJ, the kind of the king of that room, is presenting the Prince his Hall of Fame induction. I mean, pinch me, bro. You know, I mean, like, I got goosebumps thinking about that, just how cool of a moment that is. Because I think that this even happens if Kobe is still with us. I think that Kobe probably would request Mike to, I don't know if he would, it might be Phil Jackson. It might be, I don't know who it would be. I don't even want to guess. But it might have been Mike. You know, just.
If Kobe could pick, it would be Mike.
Yeah.
And to have this happening for the basketball fans, world, people to see, brace yourselves. What a treat. What a treat it is to hear the greatest basketball player ever break down somebody that's arguably in that discussion and somebody who respects him for that, right? I mean, this would be like Joe Montana giving the induction speech to Tom Brady. This would be like just think of superstars on the same level talking about one another. You rarely get that from those types of human beings because their talent is so great and we so much respect it that they're almost embarrassed to talk about it publicly because we all know it. We sat back and watched it. We paid ungodly amounts of money to see it. And if you gave it to us again tonight, there'd be lines wrapped around arenas and buildings around our country with the ability to see these two guys play again. And to have Mike break down and talk about Kobe's career and how he was a Hall of Famer. At some point, Mike's going to have to talk about Kobe, the basketball player. I mean, we've seen him talk about the emotions and the friend and what he meant to the person of Michael Jordan. But now you're going to hear Michael Air Jordan talk about Kobe Bean Bryant, the basketball player. I mean, pump that into my veins. Yeah. Give me that on loop.
You never see the mentor speak of the apprentice. It's usually the apprentice speaks of the mentor. Especially
publicly.
Passing. Yeah.
Bro, you're about to get some of, I'm just guessing, I don't know, but I would think you're about to get some firsthand accounts of those 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls. Like, he told you the phone was ringing, and he told you at first he was kind of annoyed by it, but then he said he began to fell in love with it because he saw, it's just me. It's just me. I mean, nothing but me calling Oscar, I mean, just calling some of his mentors, Dr. J, whoever it was that was before him, and I don't know if he did that, but Kobe did. And Michael Jordan told you about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's about to tell you about what some of those conversations were like. Like, bro, I got goosebumps the size of quarters on me right now just thinking about what those background stories are going to be like from his airness to Kobe in their prime.
Passing, hearing some of the stories. I heard one story. It was like the 2011 season Lakers. They got killed in Portland. It's just a regular season game in February, and no one really cares. And Kobe just walks in all pissed off. I can't remember who the guard was at the time. I think it was like Jordan Farmer, and he had on Kobe's shoes. And he's like, "What the hell is that? Take those shoes off." He's wearing Kobe's at the time. He's like, "You don't deserve to wear those right now," and threw them in the trash.
I mean, some of the stories from Kobe, bro. I mean, I'm telling you, read the Showtime book, Jeff Pearlman's Showtime book that revisits the Lakers championship runs, and then Phil Jackson's book after he retires, and then comes back to coach Kobe. Rudy Tomjanovich was the coach in between. And kind of the similarities, Jackson's point of view of coaching those two guys in their primes. What a privilege. But somebody that truly respected it and put so much into it that even got the best out of those guys, right? I mean, like if you're watching The Last Dance, I mean, look at that 1998 season. Jordan says it countless times. I'm not playing if Phil Jackson's not here. Mm-hmm. I'm not playing for anybody but Phil Jackson. Kobe would later say that in his career. And man, just to have those two guys recognizing one another is as cool as it gets in our industry. And Kobe Bryant is somebody that will be missed and remembered forever. But to have the memories brought back and
poetic justice. It's beautiful. I
talked
can't
about.
think of anything.
It's just
We had to have
it's
his story
amazing.
told by
Jordan,
essentially
you know?
the man that wrote it. Almost like if there's no Michael Jordan, you don't know if there's a Kobe Bryant.
I just want to see that photo. It's the '98 All-Star game. They're at the foul line, and Kobe leans in talking about the shot.
The
How you do that,
fadeaway.
Turner? Yeah, how you do the fadeaway.
The fadeaway. And then when they go to Chicago later that season,
Hits him.
Jordan's still talking about it because he hit one on him. And, bro, it's just it's as good as it gets in sports when you think about where MJ and Kobe were for our generation, for us as fans, and to now see it being wrapped up with Jordan presenting Kobe into what is going to be a spectacular night at the Hall of Fame. I mean, what's KG's? What is he gonna? I mean, who is he gonna just go
Blow
after?
out.
I mean, who is he just gonna eviscerate up there during his speech? The big fundamental will be great. Kim Mulkey's being presented by Michael Jordan. What's the connection? I can't wait to find out from Mulkey as we'll talk to her soon. I got to jump on Monroe Radio. I'm about to jump on with Foxy and those guys right now. So that is our rundown presented by Go Chevrolet. We're back with you tomorrow morning. Meet the new guy, Jack, as you met from
Good
Barstool
being on.
LSU. He's now a part of the Jordy Culotta Show. Of course, Lizzie is here. And we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Good show.